Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for the seven-figure entrepreneur who's looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all around good guy, Ted Fells. All right. Did your mic go out, Ted, or
You didn't hear me? Happy Monday?
I
No?
didn't hear anything on my end? Nope.
How about
All
now?
right.
Yep.
I get. Yep, we can hear you now.
Well, happy Monday again. Happy Monday.
All right. Dr. Karen, I was saying, man, Ted is practicing some active listening. He's
That's
just
right. That's right. Listen in. Listen in.
he is listening in. All right. But now it is indeed happy Monday for those of you watching us live. For those of you listening to us, it could be a different day. But happy whatever day it is to you. Uh, today we are going to talk about unlocking the power of meaningful connections. Definitely, this is something you want to tune into because I think a lot of uh, the things our guest is going to talk about today ties back into how do you leverage these connections and relationships and really use that to get to the next level. So this applies to if you're an entrepreneur. This also applies if you're, in an organization and you're trying to get to the next level. You're stuck as a middle manager and you're trying to get to the C-suite. This applies as well. So we'll go ahead and get right to it. So our guest, she is the founder of the Sister Leaders Community Academy conference and travel agency, and she specializes in strategizing with women on how to articulate workplace successes and leading people, leading change, and using technology and analytics. Please join me in welcoming to the 30-minute hour, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden.
I am so excited to be here. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah, we're definitely excited to have you on. I wanted to start. I wanted to give you a shout out, Dr. Karen. I'm just looking at your story. I mean, you've overcome several personal and professional setbacks where you could have easily just made an excuse and used that as a crutch as a reason why you weren't able to move forward or have success. But you not only did you overcome these setbacks and you become this community leader and best-selling author and C-suite executive, but you've also reached back to help others, to help other women to overcome. So I wanted to, I just very commendable. I just wanted to give you a shout out for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like where does that drive come from?
I think it comes from just watching my parents. I had two parents who were very different. So my mom was pro education, school teacher by trade, 36 years, retired for 1 year and then went back after 36 years, went back because she couldn't even be retired. My dad was military, an entrepreneur, didn't believe in working for anyone else, believe in having your own. And so I was able to have the education part from my mom, who was pro education, and pro entrepreneurship from my dad. Both of them worked extremely hard. And so I was able to see how their life elevated and changed. Even as a child, our lives got better and changed. We moved to better neighborhoods and we got better things, toys and different things, access to things. And so I would have to say the drive come from just watching my parents and knowing that it was possible, that if I worked and applied myself, that what I desired was truly possible because I watched my parents do it on two different paths.
And that stands out to me because I can relate because I think my drive comes from watching my dad. He just got up and he was out. He went to the same building for 35 years, but he was always up early working. I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And I think the takeaway is that we have to be mindful that there's a lot of times there's little eyes who are watching us, right? And we're communicating with them even when we don't say anything to them directly. I think that's, and Tammy, I think that applies to you, Ted. I mean, there's people that watch
Mhm.
you as far as how you operate. I think we just have to be mindful that people are watching us and we're setting an example and we're communicating
Mhm.
a message. So Dr. Karen, I am curious though. I want to hear, but tell us about a time early in your journey where you had to reinvent yourself.
Oh wow. So early in my life, so I just have to go back to who I was as a young person. As a young person, I did what I wanted to do regardless of the consequences. If I wanted to do it, I did it, and then I was willing to deal with the consequences that were associated with it. And so I fell under a drug that is legal in the United States, but most people kind of it gets taken over by it, and that is that first love drug. And so I fell under that first love spell, and my mom could not snatch me away from that boy that I was in love with, that first love. And so instead of matriculating like my friends, going off to college, graduating from high school, going off to college, I chose matrimony instead of matriculation. And so just to fast forward that story, so straight out of high school, I got married to my first love. Within 5 years, I was headed for divorce with 3 children, 3, 2, and 1. And so your girl had to pivot and reinvent herself because it didn't work out the way that I thought it would work out. And I was able to do that with family and community. That is the only way that I was able to pivot with 3 small children back to back, a divorcee. And by this time, I was like 20, 24, 25 with 3 small children with just a high school diploma. So I wasn't going to be a statistic. And so I relied on family to assist me while I put my life back on track and, did the work, did the time, and ended up getting a terminal degree. And of course, there's a lot of span of years in between that. But that was the choice I made, was love, because I wanted to make it, even though everybody said no, 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 no. And so I had to pivot from that decision, but no regrets.
Hmm. Wow. And so, I mean, was there ever a time when, so you're divorced, you've got a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 1-year-old. Was there ever a time that you told yourself, look, I can't, I have to just stay here and support the kids. I can't really expect to accomplish any more in my life. Did you ever have any of that self-talk during those days?
Nope, not at all. It's like, okay, now I didn't have a plan B, but it's like, okay, that didn't work out. Now, what are you going to do? So, what am I going to do? I'm going to put myself back on the path to college, which is what I gave up for love. And so, this time, instead of having a full ride scholarship, which is what I gave up for love, your girl had to get financial aid and loans and all of that stuff, because I gave that stuff up in the beginning when I was younger. But no, I never doubted and wanted to waddle in my decisions. I just worked on my game plan. I knew I had to be somebody. I was destined to be somebody. I came from my mom and my dad, so I was going to be somebody. It was gonna have to work a little harder, listen to a whole lot of mouth and bad talk from some people saying you made that decision, and deal with it and put your head down and just do the work that was needed to be successful.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Now, and you said, I was watching you on there's a Shea Brown docu series, and you said something I really want to talk about it. You said your ability to pivot will sustain you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have pivoted quite a bit in my life. In regards to that interview, I was talking about work hurt where I had worked my way up through middle management, was looking for a senior leadership position, was told you are going to get your boss's position because your boss is going to retire. And everybody would want that. Everyone would want to be able to get that position without applying for it, to know that your work is being recognized. And my boss got cold feet and didn't want to retire. So after 1 year of her moving over half of her job to me, getting me ready for her retirement, she got cold feet, but no one wanted to talk about it. It was the elephant in the room. So I kept going to work every day, wondering what's going on after year 1. Now she's not even talking about retirement. They're very careful not to even mention the word retirement. And then at 18 months, still nobody's mentioning anything. And so I talked to my God, and my God told me to show myself to the marketplace. And that was the pivot that I made, that if you believe it's your time to be promoted, you need to serve as a pilot, not a co-pilot in your career. And when your employer does not hand you a job, don't wait for your employer to hand you a job. Go to the marketplace and use the talents that you have to make an impact externally. And that's what I did. And that was the pivot that I made. But there was a lot of work hurt for that 18 months because I had worked at that organization for almost 14 years. And you have family and you have friends, work family and friends. And my boss, who wasn't able to articulate that she wasn't ready to retire, she was also a friend. And so I had to navigate through that process.
Work hurt. So it sounds like, though, you went into this with a vision for when you first started working there. You said, my vision is to be in the C-suite, or was that kind of how you went into it, or?
Nope, not at all. Not at all. I actually, for that particular job that I was on with that employer for 14 years, I accepted that job because I thought it was a part-time job. At the time, I have a lot of different talents and a lot of different streams of income. At the time, I was heavily doing flips. I have a real estate background in investing, and I have a real estate license. So I was doing flips. And my husband he was a contractor. So we were flipping houses. And HR was my industry of choice. And HR is a field that if you get out of leadership, you stay out of it too long, you can't get back into leadership. You have to start lower. And so I saw that position advertised, and I thought it was part-time. And I was like, well, let me just take it part-time. So in case I wanted to go back and I wouldn't have to start lower. And when I went through the interview process, they offered me a full-time position, which kind of blew me away because I wasn't thinking about full-time. But they were impressed with what I had to say in the interview. And so I ended up going back to work full-time. And so my husband had to deal with the real estate and the flipping. So when I went to that employer, it was just supposed to be temporary, part-time, just to keep my credentials active. And I ended up staying with that employer for 14 years because whatever I do and wherever I work, I'm going to be the best that I can be. I'm going to give 200%. And so they rewarded me with various promotions. They paid for certain types of education that I got as well. So over the years, they recognized me for the hard work. And so 14 years later, there I was, waiting on the top position. It just did not happen for me at that particular employer.
Okay. All right. And so you're the founder of the Sister Leaders community. So share with us, what's the backstory as far as how that all transpired?
Sure. So the Sister Leaders community is a community of men and women who are committed to increasing the number of women in senior leadership. The backstory behind that is the pain that I experienced when I wanted to move from middle management to the C-suite. And I didn't know any female leader to call, to ask, what should I be focusing on? Will you look at my resume? Can I have a conversation? I didn't know any women that were in senior leadership. And so I did something, this was about 15, 20 years ago. Well, it's 20 years ago now. That was unconventional at the time. LinkedIn was fairly new. We were still trying to figure it out. What is LinkedIn all about? And I researched 2 women who were in vice president's positions, who were African American like myself and had been in place in the C-suite for at least 10 years. And I sent them a copy of my resume and asked them to be my mentor. And I had a number 1 choice and a number 2 choice. My number one choice responded back to me and said she would be my mentor for $350 an hour. So back then, middle manager Karen was not rolling like that. I didn't have a whole bunch of $350 extra to be, investing in myself. But I saw through my mom, who was pro education, who had paid for different classes and different things. And so I recognized the value of investing in yourself. And so I negotiated to work her to mentor me for 1 hour a month for 1 year. So instead of 8 hours, I could only afford one extra $350 out of my budget. I signed the contract. She accepted it. And she helped me cultivate my skills to get me ready for senior leadership. And really what she did was help me identify that I had a knack with numbers, which I knew that I love numbers, but she helped me articulate it. And so my specialty that she helped me to learn how to articulate is still my specialty today. And that is that I know how to help indirect revenue generating departments articulate their value at the table. I can create a formula so that you can articulate your value to an organization when there is no report, when you don't have a sales report because you're indirect. This is HR, IT, payroll, those departments that are indirect revenue. And I use the phrase indirect revenue because everybody works towards the goals of an organization. You're either direct or indirect. There is no one that does not contribute to the success of an organization. And she helped me articulate that, which I knew I had a skill for it. I didn't know that it was a skill that I needed to put in the forefront. And that was a game changer for me.
So where do you think you would be? Let's say if you never reached out to this mentor, this 300, let's say if you just said, you know what, $350 an hour, it's not in the budget right now. Like where do you think you'd be career-wise without her help?
I think I would have been still successful. I think it would have been slower. I think I probably would have had more bumps and bruises. Because I think what a mentor and a coach does for you is that they share their knowledge and their experiences so that you don't have to go through the same thing. They also help, through what they learn about you, help you articulate what your strengths are, help you compensate for your weaknesses, and help you see opportunities professionally, your personal SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then also help you to understand what threats can impact you from success. And so you need others to do that for you. That is something that is kind of like an external vision type thing. That's not something that you're able to really do on your own. We kind of know some of the things that we do well, but sometimes we don't know how to package it. Like in my case, I knew I did it well, but I didn't know that it was a thing. And it's a huge thing. Which is, I was able to start a whole business and focus on that indirect revenue. So it is a huge thing. So I just think I would be behind the 8 ball. It would have been a slower ascent to senior leadership. I've been in senior leadership for the last 15 years for 6 different industries. And I credit all of that to hiring my first coach. I'm not afraid to hire coaches. I've hired more expensive professional coaches. I wish they were just $350 an hour now. But, you want someone that are several steps ahead of you so that they can reach back and tell you, the do's and don'ts so that you don't have to go through what they went through.
So did that mentor hold you to just an hour each month or?
Never. Nope. She sure didn't. We talked about until we got talked out.
That's great.
So, yeah. And I'm grateful for that. We didn't become friends, but we certainly respect one another because I never met her personally. She was someone that I found on LinkedIn and we had a virtual relationship, but we were friendly. And we were both committed to my success. and for that, I'm internally grateful.
Mm.
No, that's good. So talk to us more about exactly what the Sister Leaders community does for the women that are a part of it.
Absolutely. So, sister leaders, we have conferences, webinar, online courses. We have a publishing company. I tell the stories of women who want to share their story of how they got a seat at the table, what barriers that they overcome to get those seat at the table. I have an annual conference every year where I bring powerhouse individuals from all different industries who have receipts to show for it. This year, I have my conference is always in October, so they can get up close and personal direction from these people who have verifiable receipts. We're not talking about somebody that's social media famous. We're talking about people that you can Google them and see how much they're worth. That
Mm.
type of thing. I wanted to create that type of connection because, of course, I didn't have that when I first wanted to get into leadership. Now I have a lot of friends who are super successful, and I'm able to call on favors to get them on my platform. But I want to make it easy for the next female leader who may even think that she may want to be in leadership. I want her to at least be able to have access to someone to have a conversation, to talk about what leadership really is, because truth be told, a lot of us think we want to be leaders, but we tap out when we get there because we find out it's nothing that we thought it was. And you have to make some hard decisions that impact a whole lot of people. And when I say a whole lot of people, not just the people that are employed by you or under your direction, you're also impacting their family. If you're a good leader, your decisions impact their family. And so we connect people with resources, experiences, and networks in order to help them become high performing leaders.
Yeah, I think like leadership would be much easier if it wasn't for like the people aspect.
Yeah, if you could take that people part out, boy,
Yeah.
leadership would be a piece of cake.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I don't think you're going to have much left there if you take the people part out.
Oh, goodness.
I think it's good to be a good leader of yourself. That helps. But yeah, no, definitely the people dynamic is what changes things. People coming from different personalities and different perspectives and all of that good stuff. Uh, so I am curious, like what are some other steps that our followers can take so they can unlock the power of meaningful connections in their lives? We have entrepreneurs who follow us. What advice do you have for the entrepreneurs who wants to leverage these meaningful connections?
Well, they have to be meaningful, and so they have to be reciprocal. A lot of people approach individuals about what they want from them, and they don't have anything to offer. And so I'm a servant leader, and so many of my coaches, I have served them on their platforms in their business. And in exchange for that is that I learn about the business and I get an inside view. But you have to have a more than a surface relationship with the people that you come in contact with. You should know things about them that maybe is not in the media, that's not in, that's when you're beyond the surface relationships. But if I was to say two things, serve and give. You can serve, you can give, and you can invest your way to a meaningful connection. And what I mean by invest is that, I buy for some of the people who are my friends today. Back in the day, I was their client. I bought their products, bought their coaching programs, bought time on their stage, whatever it was, so that I could learn more and get an inside view. And so just be prepared to serve and give and know that it's a reciprocal relationship and you always want it beyond the surface relationship.
Mm, well said. Beyond the surface, I agree with that. So, Ted, can you talk about this thing that we always talk about, the difference between a potluck and a buffet? Can you?
Yeah.
Can you? This is a
See,
good
see,
time for us.
see, used to, yeah, yeah. So I have this thing, Dr. Karen, that I said I'm always looking for potluck relationships versus buffet relationships. Right. So, buffet relationships, you just come in there to fill up your plate and get, just keep getting all you can get, and potluck, everybody's bringing a dish, right? So that we all get something out of that. And I think if you have that kind of a potluck mentality when establishing relationships, and you're really thinking, like you said, how I may be able to help, this individual or this company, I think it will always help, because I can think about along the way, many, people that have, that I've spent time with, and, Dr. Karen, they bought their plate, they filled their plate up, and then you didn't hear from them again till they need to come back and, put some more on their plate. And a lot of them have done really, really well, but I just think that you definitely want to try to have that kind of relationship where everyone is able to get something from it.
I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree.
Yep, for sure. That's good stuff. And then so one of the things I think people should try to avoid is that you see somebody like a Dr. Karen and say, "Hey, Dr. Karen, I got this business idea. Let me pick your brain." Right.
Picking my brain comes with an invoice now.
That's it. That's it.
In the beginning, it didn't. And I just have to. Full transparency is not for everybody. It doesn't come with an invoice all the time, but the majority of the people, it comes with the invoice. And I've found that I've had a number of different businesses for decades, and so I've had people, with the analogy we were just talking about, part of picking my brain was to get all of my intellectual knowledge and property so that they can go on and be great. And so they had no intent of doing anything with me, whatsoever. And so after that happening several times, you, as a business person, you decide, well, okay, we're going to stop the whole run this by you, pick your brain type thing. And so now the way that I operate is it comes with an invoice. And then if you choose to do business with me, I will refund it back off of the amount that I bill you for based on whatever service that you get. But that conversation is going to come with the invoice initially.
Eric, don't you always say pick a payment method?
Right.
You want to
You pick your method of payment. There you go.
pick your method of payment.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's another one, Dr. Karen. Let me run. I want to run something by you. That's the other one.
Oh yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Oh man. So I know you get asked a lot of questions, right? People are always coming up to you. You're on podcasts and different shows. I am curious, like what's one question that you never get asked that you wish people would ask you?
Something as simple as, "Are you okay?" And the reason being is because I do a whole lot, and people are used to me doing a whole lot, and I get a whole lot done. I have the same amount of hours everybody else have, 24 hours, and I push mines. And sometimes people don't hesitate about putting something extra on your plate. And so rarely, I get commended on how much I do, but rarely do anyone ask me, do I need any help or am I okay? And so I would just like to be asked. I probably would turn them down, but I would just like for someone to care enough to ask me, am I okay? And I don't know if that's the curse of a strong, Black, hardworking woman or whatever. Everybody think you got it, but everybody needs to be asked that from time to time, and then let them say that they don't need the help. And I don't get asked that enough.
That's interesting. That is a great answer to that question, because I mean I have mentors. I've had mentors in the past, and I just assumed they were good. Right? So yeah, I can understand that. I just assume, yeah. I mean, you're helping me, so yeah. Hey, but no, that's good. That's a good answer to that.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
mean, well, even in, like, I'm thinking about that when you're talking to someone, they may be okay from a business perspective, but then, life could be lifing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes just saying, how are you doing? You doing all right? I know you got a lot going on. How you doing? You'd be surprised at what may come out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you think? Because like now, like in society, we're conditioned to give a certain response. Like typically, you know, the house could be burning down, you could be about to get foreclosed, everything, whatever, and the canned response is, "Oh, I'm good. Yep, I'm good."
Well, that's not my canned response anymore. It used to be I was always good, and then I realized that I was blocking my blessings because the people who were really asking me would really have helped me if I had been honest with them. And so it just depends on where the question is coming from. If the question is coming from someone who who care about you, who respect you, who really will, they're asking because they're concerned, then I think we should be honest. And I had to learn that later in life that I'm not always good. And there is a safe space with certain people where I can say I'm not good. It's not everybody. You can't let everybody know, because some people, eat breakfast. They eat your weakness for breakfast and turn it back on you. But you should have somebody that's close to you that you can say, I am not good. Can we talk about it?
That's a good point.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, I think you have to be careful who you're vulnerable around.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. So what's next for you? What's next on the horizon?
Well, for me, everything points towards my conference in the fall. It's at the Rivers Casino in Portsmouth, Virginia. This year, our theme is more. Women deserve to be seen more, heard more, paid more. And so we are, everything is solidified. We have all the keynote speakers lined up. And so I am looking to pour into everybody in the room. It's, even though it's a sister leaders conference, we have men who, because leadership is not gender specific, the competencies that are associated with lead, and men know that. And so we have men who come to our conferences. And so everything is pointing towards that. We're almost at August 1st. So it's the first weekend in October. So we're 2 months out, and 2 months go by pretty quickly when you're planning an event such as this. And so I'm just looking to help some women get to their next level, help them be able to amplify their value, help them be able to articulate their value at the table, make some connections, introduce some people to some people, let them see that whatever they're talking about is possible, and you can do it with respect and integrity.
Great.
So what type of advice do you have for individuals that are going to networking events and being able to maximize that time or resources that they've invested into that networking event?
I would say that it is work. A lot of times people go to conferences, and when someone is on a stage, or if there's a workshop or something, they look at that as, okay, I need to be paying attention. But when you're standing in the hallway and you don't know who you're standing beside, you need to, introduce yourself, ask them what they do. You're always working. You can rest when you get home. But in order to maximize being in proximity with these individuals, then you need to speak wherever you are. And every minute you should view it as working. I don't think people do it to the point where they maximize the time that they spend at conferences like that. People use the word networking in a flimsy way. I'll speak to who I want to speak to when I want to speak to them, but you don't know the person beside you is really who you need to speak to, and will help you if you made the connection. And so you just got to be on your grind and just know that you are working, and every minute, every conversation, every possible proximity that you are with someone, just say hi. They'll let you know from their nonverbals whether or not they got time to talk, but just say hi. And then always have something on you that you can give them in their hand. I know we all have digital business cards now, but sometimes ain't nobody got time for that, all that pulling out cell phones and stuff. So if you have something with your contact information, like a business card, a flyer, or whatever, that you can just drop in their bag after you make the introduction, and it needs to be, you need to ask them if you can give it to them, because otherwise it may be scratch paper, if you try to give it to them without them asking for it. But that's how you maximize networking opportunities. View it as work every minute that you are there and you're in the proximity of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think you have to be intentional with everything you do.
Absolutely. I've been at my own conference and I don't even know how this is possible because my face is on everything. And people didn't even know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
My face is literally on everything. My team puts my face on everything. And, I don't walk around with a name badge or anything, but I do just talk to people. I'm never in the front row. I'm always in the back row. I'm in the back of the room just talking. I'm usually the first one in the room and the last one out. I don't wear anything that makes me stand out. You don't know until I walk up on the stage that I am who I am, unless you recognize me by face. And the number of people who choose not to talk to me when I have the capability to put them on my stage is crazy. And how I know that they have error, because I've had people who stood beside me, and then after I exit the stage, now they're coming for me.
They're like, "Hey, Dr. Karen."
When you had access to me the whole time,
I thought that
I'm walking
was
around
you.
the whole time.
They see you get up on stage, it's a different ball game.
Yep, absolutely. I ain't mad at them, but I'm just saying, if you talk to everybody, you won't be in that situation.
Interesting. All right. So we're at the final segment of the show. This is Ted's favorite part of the show, Dr. Karen.
It really is.
It's called Write This Down. This is where we each go around and leave the audience with one takeaway from today's episode that the people need to write down so they can level up. So, Dr. Karen, you're the guest of honor. What is it that the people need to write down from today's show?
I think they should write down: invest in yourself, believe in yourself. You are the pilot, not the co-pilot to your success in life. And the last thing I'll say is, when you get to the point where you're ready and able, always provide your own platform.
That's good stuff. Write that down. Invest in yourself, believe in yourself, provide your own platform. Thank you. Okay, Ted.
Dr. Karen, this is why I don't really like this part of the show. It's because then I have to go behind someone like you that came up with this amazing kind of write this down, and then I just gotta kind of come up with something. So what I'm going to say is, it kind of goes back to the networking, right? At a networking events, I think it's important to focus on connecting, right? I think you focus on connecting with people. Then if you got the connection, then they're going to be willing to hear what what you have to share. But if you just come in like a walk-in brochure, it just seems like it's all about what you're trying to sell to them, what you're trying to get from them, versus, how are you? Those are some really nice glasses that you have, how are you doing today, whatever. And then once you get through that, then, people are open to, they may even ask you, well, what is it that you do, or what is it that you offer? So I think it's important to, focus on the connection, right? And then everything else will follow if you connect. Because you connect to build that relationship, and then I think relationships open up opportunities.
Write that down.
I agree.
Goodness. Write that down, replay it again. That's powerful. Focus on,
Thank you.
that's in line with the theme of our episode, as far as really leveraging the power of these connections, meaningful connections. So, no, that's great.
Thank you.
So my piece for this, and I've shared this before. I remember I had this coaching client. He's older, He's in his early 80s, been in business for years, and we are supposed to meet, and he was running late. And I said, he got on. I'm like, man, where you been? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm late, Eric. Sorry, I'm late. I was meeting with my mentor. And he's in his 80s, and it still is taking the time for coaching. Still is meeting with his mentor. So the takeaway is that it's never too late to find a mentor. And I think with Dr. Karen, with your story of how that person really helped you to get to the next level, where you actively went and said, okay, who is where I'm trying to get to? Most people don't do that. Most people just put their head down and keep working harder. You were like, okay, who's already where I'm trying to go? And how can I get connected to that person? I'm not looking to pick their brain or run anything by them. I want this to be kind of a mutual relationship. So I definitely think that's a key takeaway. Find a mentor. It's never too late, because that can really help you to get to that next level.
I love that. Totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have more than one too.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And then a lot of times you find when you have a mentor, especially if they're playing at a high level, they have someone at a high level who's mentoring them.
Yep.
So you're getting the benefit of the person that's mentoring them as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Karen, this has been a fantastic episode. I have so many other questions I could ask you. This could be like a 3-hour episode. We're going to have you back again at some point, because there's a lot of directions we could go.
But Eric, if you go too long, it might come with an invoice. You gotta be careful there. She give you a couple freebies, but
he got jokes. I see he got jokes. He got jokes.
Might be.
I'm like, Dr. Karen, I gotta run something by you, Dr. Karen.
Run something. I want to pick your brain. I just want to get your thoughts on this. I have this idea, and that's when run it by you.
Oh man. But now, so how can people best connect with you?
Well, I'm everywhere, so you can Google me, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden.com. All of my stuff is connected. So if you land on one website, it's a hyperlink to another website. So everything is under my name. I have a free Facebook community for women leaders called Sister Leaders Community on Facebook. So yeah, just, and I have, podcasts and Instagram, and everything is under my name. Everything is tied up under my name. And so definitely connect with me. Not everything that I do come with an invoice. That was the whole reason why I started the free Facebook community. I have free subject matter experts who come on every month. And these people charge crazy money for their coaching programs. And they, as a favor to me, they come on once a month and, teach an hour in their area of specialty. And so, definitely join. If you're a female leader, Sister Leaders Community, we have guys in there as well. Again, we don't, this whole elevation for women leaders is a partnership. We have our male sponsors and ambassadors who hire our companies and bring us into those rooms that we haven't been invited into yet. And so the Sister Leaders Community is a men and women organization. But yeah, under my name, you can find me under my name.
All right. Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. And then, so for the people who want to attend this October conference, what's the best way for them to?
The website is Sister Leaders Conference. So Sister Leaders with an S conference.com. You'll find all the information. All of the keynotes are listed up there. We have some powerhouse individual, and they all have been verified. And so these aren't social media popular people. These are people that you would recognize them and know them, and they have receipts. And so I'm excited. If you think you want to come to the conference, check it out. I create these events, and with the thought in mind that I want to make sure that they're accessible for as many people as possible financially. That's the best way that I can say it. And so do not exclude yourself out without checking it out to see what the investment is. You will be pleasantly surprised at what the investment is to have access to these people.
Mm,
All right. All right.
great.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And for those of you watching and listening, please make sure you take advantage of this opportunity to level up and meet and make meaningful connections. You can really understand the power of meaningful connections if you go and join the sister leaders community and attend their conference and all the other great things they've got going. But this has been a wonderful episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And don't forget to share the show.
Share the show. Share the show.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Don't keep great information to yourself. And don't forget, you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of those podcasting platforms. We're up to 1.3 million total downloads now. Make sure you go on and subscribe, and that way you never miss a future episode. Well, that's our time for this week on the 30-Minute Hour podcast. Thank you again to Dr. Karen Hills Pruden.
Thank you for
Until
having me.
yeah, and until next time, have a great one.